Nice job executing all of the assignments as they put a stop to that return at the 22. The Longhorns offense is on the field for the first time today. The Lone Star State has a ton of rivalries, but this one outshines all the rest.
Yeah, the three of us have had an opportunity to call this game in the past, and you can just feel the tradition when these two teams take the field, right, David? You got the 12th man, you got Bevo. This is special.
Yeah, you got one side that thinks they're way better than the other side thinks they're way better. I'll let you decide which one thinks which, but every year, no love lost.
And they'll finally get him down after a terrific pickup. And the Longhorns will hustle to the line. Trying to find his man on first down. All kinds of room to throw that one in there. They make the stop at the 41, but it's a 15-yard pickup, and they're rolling with a first down. Used to play fake, now to throw. He's going to let one fly down the middle. And chunk plays are the name of the game, and they get one here before the defense finally makes the stop. This crowd going to try to make life miserable for these guys. The give to the back. Pulled down after a pickup of 5. They'll mark it at the 8. Operating in the red zone here on second down. To the ground with the back. Dragged down at the 6 after a pickup of 2. They'd love to pick up this third down and get a fresh set with first and goal. Dropping back, it's Ewers. Fires into the end zone. And it's caught. Touchdown, Texas. They can use this first score to sort of set the tone, guys, in this rivalry matchup.
Man, doesn't this feel good to come out, score early, get the crowd involved, get the nerves out of the way, Palmer, when you're playing in a big rivalry game?
Yeah, and I feel like momentum's always a big thing in any game, but in rivalry games, it's that much more important because everybody is going to feed off that first score now.
Getting set for the point after. And the extra point is good, and it's 7-0. They march 78 yards down the field, and they get it into the end zone with a 6-yard touchdown pass. And he takes this from inside the 5. He was looking for some running room, but not much to be found as he stopped at the 18. So the Texas A&M Aggies offense taking the field. First chance we have to see them today. And it won't be easy to throw the ball down the field today, David, because both of these teams have lockdown corners.
I mean, these guys shut down half of the field. Playmaking cornerbacks that really can play man-to-man and lock down the best guys on the other side.
Yeah, if I'm a quarterback in this game, I'm taking a calculated risk if I'm thrown towards one of these two dudes because you're just asking to get picked off.
Couldn't find a lane, a pickup of 1 to the 31. Didn't get much on first down. It's 2nd and 9. Pulls and fires complete to the right. Finally run out of bounds, but he has this offense rolling with a first down. And the Aggies come to the line with a new set of downs. Looking for space. It's Moss. They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one. Lost 1 on that last one. It's 2nd and 11. He's looking to throw. Quickly out to the tight end. He's brought down quickly. Minimal gain there. Still a bit short of the first down. Just this side of midfield, the defense trying to rise up on 3rd and short from the 49. Coming after it. Going to try to get it himself. Nifty little scamper on this one. Enough for the first down, and he slides in safely. Here's his offense with a fresh set of downs. Comes out throwing on first down. Lets it fly deep downfield. And swatted down by the defense to stop the scoring opportunity. 2nd down after that incompletion. Scanning the field, it's Reed. Finds the tight end. Did Bevo really get his name after altering a brand on his backside put there by Texas A&M students? So many questions to answer since 1894, guys.
And that's what's so cool about this rivalry. When you have the back and forth and who did what, going all the way back to 1894, Reese's first birthday, what an amazing rivalry.
There have been a lot of good players during that stretch, too. Think about Ricky Williams from the Horns, Johnny Manziel, Texas A&M. So many great coaches have patrolled the sidelines in this rivalry for years.
After putting up a three-spot, the kickoff unit set to go. And it'll come out to the 25. No attempt at a return. So now the Longhorns take over and they'll send out the offense. David, they'd love to do what they did last time and put this one in the end zone.
You ain't lying. They did a great job. The offense was clicking. Everything went well. Palmer, they executed and got the touchdown.
And they really were in a nice rhythm as well. And I'd love to see that here on the next drive, too. Just keep doing what you're doing. Everything seems to be working, and you seem to have this defense on their heels.
And the Longhorns will move the sticks with the first down. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. Caught in the backfield, it's Bolden. And the defense settled in to stop that one for a short gain. On second down, will they go back to the ground game? The play action fake. And the pressure gets to him. Down goes the quarterback.
Play-action pass success has a lot to do with selling that fake. You could tell defense was not buying it, got in the backfield, got the big play.
Decibels rising as the crowd gets behind this defense on third down. Back to throw, it's Ewers. Unloads to the wideout. Complete to the right. And how about that? What the doctor always ordered, an explosive play to the 40. Look, here's the bottom line. If they don't heat this guy up better than that, he will carve them into tiny, thin pieces, so thin your in-laws will never come back to your house.
And listen, I get it, Reese. I'm kind of scared of him because he's so efficient. He's such a good quarterback. I don't want to give him the big play down the field, but, man, I got to somehow get some pressure on him with my guys and make him feel uncomfortable because that third down, that wasn't it.
And here comes the offense on second down. They'll put the tight end in motion. From the gun, they'll try to impose their will. They'll give him a couple, that leaves him with 3rd and 8. They line up with some serious work to do if they want to convert this one. On third down, he drops to throw. Looking to the big tight end. And that's incomplete. A defender all over him. Knocked the ball to the ground. 4th down coming up. Now on 4th down, here comes the field goal team. And he's got it counted all the way to 55. Never in doubt. After that last field goal drive, they're set to kick it away. He'll start the return inside his 5. Nice job by the kickoff team. Everybody stayed in their lanes, and they'll stop him at the 16. Texas A&M has it back on the offense, ready to go to work. Looking to go up top on first down. Makes a connection to the 43-yard line and a first down for this offense. Texas A&M going up tempo.
And the quarterback knew exactly where he wanted to go with the football, had time, spins the ball deep, Nice job by this offense, understanding what the defense is giving them and creating the explosion.
He puts a lot of air under it down the sideline. And that one falls incomplete, trying to get a chunk play on that one. And now on second down for this offense. To the air, it's Reed. Got his man quickly. And he goes out of bounds after coming up with positive yardage there. They'll snap it from the 48 on third and short. They'll try to bully their way for the first. The Aggies get it past the sticks. Now they've got it at the 44 on first and 10. The give from the gun. Not a whole lot of room there. 3 yards maybe, second and 7. Time winding down in the quarter as they come to the line. Now the play fake. Grab behind the line. It's Moss. And this one will be stopped for no gain. We're through one, and what a back-and-forth battle between these two quarterbacks as we look at the stats. Heading in the opposite directions now as we crank it up in the second. They'll need to get the ball to the 34 to convert this third down. From the gun, wants to pass. Catch in the middle, it's Green. Really nice job to convert that third down, and they've got it at the 33. Off-play action on first down. Got away from trouble and got rid of it. Oh, and it's picked off. Threw it right into the teeth of double coverage. Going the other way, and he's got room. Touchdown, Longhorns! A great return for the touchdown. Any return for a touchdown is a great one to a defense. Look, a lot of time left. There's a little bit of distance right now being put on the scoreboard.
There is, but it's so awesome when you're a defense and you study all week about what's coming and what routes to be ready for, and then you jump the route and you make the plays and you just go get in that end zone. It is so beautiful.
They'll try to add another to their lead. And the extra point pushes the lead to 14. They'll kick it off and send that defense right back out there to try to score again after the pick six. And he'll bring it out of the end zone. Not nearly as much as he'd hoped when he brought it out of the end zone. He'll be stopped at the 15. Texas A&M has it back, and we say howdy to the Aggie offense again. This is when the pressure can ramp up a little bit on an offense, David, when they start feeling the heat to answer a score.
And I think being down 14, you can kind of feel that way. But, dude, if you put a good drive together, this is a 7-point game, so Palmer, no need to panic.
I was just going to say, David, I mean, this thing can flip quick. You go down, score, all of a sudden your defense gets a stop, or who knows, better yet, gets a turnover. This game is entirely different.
On third and long, he's going to have to throw for it. And that defense gets to him, and down he goes at the 9.
On third and long, you know what's coming. That's exactly where you want to get an offense. The passing game has to come out. You go nickel, bring some more speed on the field, and the defensive line gets home and gets the sack to force the fourth down.
The Aggies send out the punt team to kick it away. Doesn't say much for your drive when you're looking forward to the punt. First one of the day is off. He was called on 3 times in that victory last week. And the punt team gets down there and gets the return man on the ground. And here comes the Texas offense back on the field. They kicked a field goal on the last drive, Jesse. They've got the lead. Don't make a dumb mistake, but maintain your aggressive play calling.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's the play caller right now just taking a look at that script he's got in front of him and finding out where are my playmakers, who can we take advantage of on this defense to get a touchdown here.
Yeah, and just keep moving the ball down the field. Just execute a little bit better in the red zone. There's no need to panic. We're moving the football, and we got the lead.
Here comes this home crowd as the defense tries to get off the field on third down. Oh, they really could have used that catch there. Physical pass defense. It brings up a fourth down. Oh, my, he just shanked that one. No return possible on this one. It goes out of bounds, and they'll mark it right around the 30-yard line. All right, guys, so here's the offense back on the field again. They're going to throw it to start the drive. Man down on the play as the officials take a break to let him be checked out. You want to talk about hearts and throats when that ball was on the ground? The offense recovered its own fumble. Looking to throw, it's Wegman. And his first throw here is incomplete. This defense has kept them backed up. Now one more stop, and they can get off the field on 3rd and long. Looking to throw, and he needs a chunk play. And it slips through his fingers, incomplete. That would have been a huge gain if he could have squeezed it. 4th down, and the punt team sends it the other way. Oh, he left him grabbing. Looking for running room, he'll get it to the 43-yard line before he stopped. And here come the horns. They've got it again on offense. Here's another opportunity, Jesse, to stretch out this lead after punting last time.
I think it goes back to your playmakers, Reese. I think it's finding the guys that have been working for you earlier on in this game and getting them the football.
And there's obviously no need to panic. I mean, think about it. You got the lead. You got the football. You got to be smart with the football, make your plays, put a good drive together.
Couldn't find his man last time. That leaves him with a 3rd and 6. From the gun, wants to pass. The throw. Grabbed over the middle. It's Bolden. That'll be enough for the first down as they stop him at the 43-yard line. The Longhorns come to the line with a fresh set of downs. Wide open downfield. He's brought down, but there's a flag on the field. Let's see which way that's going to go. The officials offer the deal, and the coach accepts it. They will take the penalty. They'll go to the ground. A strong tackle and wrap up from the junior. Kept it on the ground on 1st down. See if they stick with that plan on 2nd. Motion from the offense. Dropping back, it's Ewers. He's brought down, but he went backwards after that completion, not the way they had it drawn up. Better find the earplugs. Here comes the noise, backing this defense on 3rd down. Throws to the wideout. Got him downfield. He's there to make the stop, but the damage has been done as they pick up the 1st down on the throw and catch. Looking to move it through the air. Gets open down the middle. There to make the tackle, but the big throw is good enough to give them a 1st down.
It is so good for an offense early in the game to get in a rhythm and to start stringing 1st downs together. It makes the game really easy and puts that defense in a situation where they're starting to get tired. They want to sub. They want to get other guys on the field. Stringing 1st downs together like this makes it hard to defend.
They're in the red zone. 1st and 10 from the 20. Wide receiver coming across in motion. The RPO, fire complete to the left. And a good job of coverage by that defense, just a short pickup. The emotions and energy figure to be high all day, guys, because of what's at stake this late in the season. Really a must-win for both teams.
These are the ones that get your blood moving, Reese. You get jacked up, man. You don't have to say anything in the locker room, give these big speeches. You know what's at stake, Jesse. You're ready to rock and roll. This is when you prove you're the big dog.
Which is pretty cool, too, because it's been a long season. These teams obviously are both physically and mentally tired, but you're right. For this kind of game, this is the one you circled at the start of the year. You knew that this was going to matter. There was going to be a lot on the line. Now it's time to go out and prove you're the better team.
Got it in the middle. It's held. The tackle is made, but he's got it 1st and goal from the 6. The offense threatening. Close to the end zone now with a new set of downs. The receivers telling the quarterback what they see. And maybe he'll get back to the line of scrimmage, but no more than that. After getting nothing, it's 2nd and goal from the 6. They'll run it to the left here, looking for the goal line. He bullies his way all the way down to the 5-yard line. You can't hear yourself think on 3rd and goal. Fires into the end zone. And he's got it. Touchdown, Texas.
And I love finding the big fella down in the red zone. 3rd and goal. You got to make something happen down here. Throw it up high. Let the big fella make you look really good as a quarterback. Love finding those big guys down here in the red zone.
Lining up to tack one more onto that lead. And the extra point is true, and the lead balloons to 21. About to kick it away after scoring the touchdown. Here he comes from inside his own 5. Didn't find any crease in that kickoff coverage, and he'll be stopped at the 17. Texas A&M has it back in the offense, ready to go to work. Trailing by 3 touchdowns. If you're going to get back in it, David, the time to start is right now.
Got to start now. Defense giving up points on that last possession. Again, the offense is going to have to score, and Jesse probably score pretty quickly.
Yeah, you got to go tempo. You're going to have to try to fit in as many plays as you can throughout the rest of this game. But I think more than that, you got to eliminate the negative plays. No more penalties and no more turnovers.
He gets it so close to the 1st down marker, but I think he's going to be a touch short. Texas A&M will have to boot it away. As we reach the 2-minute warning, they'll need to try to get a stop to keep this thing from getting out of hand. They'll throw it on 1st down. The short hands, it's Moore. And he'll step out of bounds after a very productive play. Now on 2nd and short after the 1st down completion. He's looking to throw. He's going for it all. And that's going to be incomplete. Going for broke on 2nd down, but 3rd down's coming up. They'll try to get it through the air. Feeling some heat. And there was nowhere to go for this quarterback, and down he goes. There's a timeout on the field. Tight game here late in the 1st half. The Longhorns will send out the punt unit. This will be the 2nd time they've had to kick it away. He gets a block. He was hoping for a little more running room, but they're able to get him down at the 45. A 1st down for the offense. They're going to open this drive with a pass. Fires to the big fella. Found enough room to get it into enemy territory. They're down at the 43-yard line. Texas A&M going quickly. Wants to throw on 1st down. Fires to the wideout. Grabbed in the middle. It's Barber. He's all the way down to the 27-yard line, and they are threatening. Finally, this offense starting to show a little juice. They've got a 1st and 10. Dances away from the heat. Trying to escape and get it himself. He was able to squirt free and pick up just a few on that one. There's a timeout called as this offense tries to find a way to draw a little closer. Let's see what they've got on 2nd down. Looking to throw, it's Reed. Got out of trouble and throws. Back open in the middle. Makes the grab, and it's enough for the 1st down before he's dragged to the ground. They've marched to the red zone, and here they go. And the quarterback was trying to extend the play, and the defense brought it to a close. The offense will stop the clock and use one of its timeouts. On 2nd down, wants to throw it. And the pressure is coming in, and they get him again. That's going to wrap up the 1st half here, and now we join Kevin with the halftime update.
Guys, think of all the big-time players who've been a part of this game, and we have a few more vying for that status so far today in an always emotional duel between the Longhorns and the Aggies.
The Longhorns will boot it away to start the 2nd half. the end zone. He's brought down at the 16. Would have been much better off to take the touchback. Texas A&M has it back, and we say howdy to the Aggie offense again. They come into this third quarter with a lot of work they need to get done.
Yeah, and it starts with this possession. And I'm going piece by piece. I know this is coach speak and very simple. I score. I get a stop. I score. I can get back in this game, but it's got to be one drive at a time.
It's going to have to be, but I think the mindset offensively is we're probably going to have to score every time we get it because our defense has been struggling. They have not been getting a lot of stops. So this is a critical drive here for this offense.
To the air, it's Reed. Finds his tight end. And he's got enough for the first down. It'll be at the 35. Whoa, boy, this freshman quarterback has a hose. Did he sing that thing in there? He wants to throw it again. Pocket starts to collapse. And here's a fumble way behind the line.
It's so hard to force fumbles. And when you do, you so badly want to get them. You're crawling. You're doing whatever you can to get there as a defender. But the offense fortunate enough to cover it back up.
Power football with the run. And they're able to shove him to the turf as they stop him for a short gain. And the Aggies are in the hurry-up. Out of the shotgun on third down. They get to him as he throws. It's caught. Nice job to pick up the first down, and they'll spot it at the 42. This Texas A&M offense is wasting no time. He wants to throw. Got it in the middle. It's Green. How about this backer in pass coverage and bringing the big hit stick with him, too. Set up for second and short after that completion. Handoff from the gun. A run up the middle is stuck for no gain. And this offense is desperate to keep this drive alive, trailing by multiple possessions, and it's getting late. Snagged in the middle. It's Miller. Excellent job working through the air there, finding a hole in that defense and picking up a first down. The Aggies come to the line with a new set of downs. They'll throw it on first down. The sure hands, it's Muhammad. And how about that catch and run? So dangerous, this guy. It's first and goal as Texas A&M comes to the line. Looking to throw. Snags it. He's all the way down to the 2-yard line. Just spectacular execution there. The big fellas coming out in the goal line defense. Trying to pound it in. He works his way ever closer all the way down to the 1-yard line. They've moved it right to the precipice of a score, and they need one more yard. And he takes it in for the score. Touchdown, Aggies. Sometimes we ask coaches about halftime adjustments, and they go blah, 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 blah. And sometimes they make some good ones.
Sometimes that blah, 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 blah actually works, but it's working now. But it might be too little too late, but at least you got the party started.
And the extra point pulls them closer. It's 24-10. Precise, relentless execution on that 13-play scoring drive. And they capped it off with a 1-yard plunge. He'll bring it back from inside his 5. Didn't find any crease in that kickoff coverage, and he'll be stopped at the 17. So Texas has it again, and here comes the offense. After giving up that last touchdown, they still got the lead, but now feeling a little bit of pressure to answer with one of their own, David.
And it gets a little bit tight. Listen, we're getting later in the ball game. This offense punted last time. They got to find a few plays, Palmer, that they really love here. Steal some momentum back in this ball game.
They do, David, and after watching their defense just get gashed down the field that last drive, the dream drive for this offense would be to matriculate the ball down the field, eat up some clock, and finish it off with a touchdown.
And he's a real nowhere man tackled in this no-gain land. On third and long, try to convert through the air. And he was hit just as he released it, and it falls to the turf. And the Longhorns will punt it away on fourth down. He's going to try to flip the field with this one. Now on the return. And the coverage team able to wrestle him down. Texas A&M has it back in the offense, ready to go to work. They cut into the deficit the last time they had it, forced the punt, and now they can really make this a game.
And you're right back in this thing. You're creating some momentum. You got the score. You got the stop. This offense, Jesse, has a chance now to make this.
He tosses one high and deep down the left side. Oh, and he gets downfield for the big catch. Defense is there to make the stop, but he's got the first down, and they'll have it first and goal at the 6. After that huge gain, now a chance to cash it in from just outside the 5. Turning to the running game on first and goal. Relentless, tough running gets it down to the 4. Second and goal for this offense. Tries again to get it in. Touchdown, Aggies! A Lazarus-like comeback is underway.
And the offense continues to run the football. The second rushing touchdown from the running back. The offensive line paving holes. Continue to feed this man the ball.
On to attempt the try. And the extra point is good as they close to within a touchdown, 24-17. The kickoff unit about to go to work. On the move from inside his 5. He was hoping for something a little more dynamic, but they get him on the ground at the 20. The Longhorns sending the offense back onto the field. They still have the lead here, Jesse, but this would be a good time to put together a drive.
You're right, Reese. You can't rest easy right now. You just watch the opponent drive down the field and score a touchdown of their own, so you've got to answer that here. Your playmakers better step up.
And I don't know what it is about momentum. In all the locker rooms and all the years, coaching, everything, you can't quantify it, you can't measure it. And the momentum has swung to the other side. You got to get it back.
That kind of pickup on first down, and you can take a shot here on second and short. On the run, it's Baxter. And he's knocked down, but there's also laundry on the field. We'll see what the officials have called. We'll repeat the previous down, but this time the offense has 10 more yards it has to cover. The give to the running back from the shotgun. One-step wrap, two-step squeeze. This junior knows how to get him on the ground. Looks as if we have an injury on that last play, and we'll take a break to check him out. Decibels rising as the crowd gets behind this defense on third down. To throw, it's Ewers. Fires to the big fella. He's run out of bounds, but a big play on that one, and it'll be a first down. And the Longhorns have their offense in high gear. And the laundry drops as the pass falls incomplete. Let's see who the penalty's on. So the decision has been made, and the coach will take the penalty. The offense set for a first down play. Use the play fake, now to throw. On a little time, lets it go. That's reeled in, it's Blue. And he gets a big chunk of yardage to the 34-yard line.
I like the running back there on the route and the patience he showed, really setting it up. He got to the defender, he was able to put his foot in the ground, get some separation, catch it, and turn upfield for the first.
Linebackers trying to create some confusion. The Longhorns want to move quickly. From the gun, the ground game. Productive 4-yard gain there on the ground as he gets it down to the 31. Solid pickup of 4 on first down. It's 2nd and 6. He's looking to throw. And the quarterback will be slung down back at the 43.
And the defense there goes zone coverage, maybe confused the quarterback a little bit, forced him to hold on to the football, and that allowed the pass rush to get home.
7th play of the drive coming up, but a long way to go on 3rd down. He's looking downfield to throw. He's got it inside the 15. And he'll take it to the house. He got loose. Touchdown, Longhorns! Horns are up, and the eyes of Texas are focused on building the lead against the Aggies.
And the Horns are capturing this momentum. Listen, a lot of angst, a lot of nervousness early in the game, Palmer. But now Texas in this rivalry game taking over.
Yeah, you're right. Hook 'em right now. They're just enforcing their will in this game. They're the more physical team at this point. And Texas A&M, they've got an uphill battle here.
And the extra point pushes the lead to 14. About to kick it off after punching it in for the touchdown. On the run from inside his own 5. And good work by the coverage team to get the return man down on the ground. Texas A&M has it back, and we say howdy to the Aggie offense again. Fires to the middle. Oh, what a spectacular layout and catch. And they'll line up from the 31 on 1st down. Handoff to the lone back. They wrestle him to the ground, but he's got plenty for a 1st down. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. Off the play fake on 1st down, wants to throw. Can't hold on. He had it right down the middle, and he flat dropped it. And after the incompletion on 1st down, this offense looking at 2nd down. Looking for a man. It's Reed. Oh, he drops it right down the middle of the field, and he couldn't make the play. If every journey begins with a step, this offense needs to step into a 3rd down conversion and then try to turn it into some scores, and fast. The Aggies send out the punt team to kick it away. He's getting a lot of work. 4th time he's punted tonight. And the punt hits at the 6, and they can't down it, and it'll be a touchback. Here comes the Texas offense. That last drive really productive. David wound up with a touchdown. They'll try to do it again.
Yeah, so I don't expect this offense to change too much, Reese. They had a great drive. They got the touchdown. Everything working. I would expect them to keep pushing this ball downhill.
And just imagine if they could put another touchdown on the board right here. They could capture so much momentum in this game with back-to-back TDs.
Slammed to the ground, but not before he gets the 1st down. And here on 1st down, let's see if they keep it on the ground. Movement here from the tight end. They'll leave it with him. Smashes through. Not much he could do there. Does pick up 2 to the 34. After picking up a couple at 2nd and 8. And they'll stop him just short of the 1st down, just inches away from moving the sticks. Guys, it is Texas who holds the lead. And as we switch ends of the field, let's take a quick look at the national rankings. One more quarter to go, and it looks as if we are ready to play. They've got it at the 41, 3rd and short, trying to keep the chains moving. Looking to throw for it. And the defense gets to the quarterback.
Nice sack by the defense. Great job getting to him, getting him on the ground. That's the 4th sack of the day. This defense has had some bright moments. They've also given up some big plays. Keep rushing the quarterback, but keep that coverage intact in the back end.
The Longhorns will bring the punt team onto the field. 4th time tonight we've seen this guy come on to punt. Fair catch called for and made around the 20-yard line. Texas A&M has it back on the offense, ready to go to work. David, the punter got some work last time. They'd like to keep him on the sidelines in this drive.
Yeah, it's not something you want to say very often. You don't want the punter out there. This offense needs to get back lathered up and get a little bit more of a rhythm.
Best way to do that, identify where your best players are and just get them the football. Give these guys some touches to kickstart this offense.
The freshman trying to take a shot, but put just a little too much on it. Ball spotted at the 29. Here they come on 3rd and short. To the ground to try to pick up the 1st. He's dropped behind the line of scrimmage. That'll be a loss of 3. Texas A&M will have to boot it away. They've been busy out there to punt for the 5th time today. He'll try to field the punt and bring it back. The solid return there offsets some of the punt yardage and really sets up this offense nicely. They'll run the RPO and throw it right.
I love an offense that wants to stay aggressive. Even when you've got the lead late in a game like this, right, you still try to find your playmakers and get them the ball in space, and that is exactly what this offense is doing.
Tight end finds a soft spot. They've got it at the 41, 3rd and short, trying to keep the chains moving. Looking downfield, it's Ewers. Unloads to the wideout. A strike downfield. He found plenty of room, and he gets it to the 39-yard line.
Well, it really just feels like they are trying to make a statement to everybody in college football. They've got a lead, they've got it late, and they are still putting it on this defense. They are still letting it fly. They're airing it out, trying to light up the scoreboard.
Let's see which way they go after the incompletion. 2nd and 10 from the 39. He's looking to throw. Got the quick pass. They make the stop, trying to pick up just a little bit at a time to get to that 1st down marker. 3rd and short, coming from the 34. You wonder if this is 4-down territory. Finds his man down the middle. He knew exactly where he wanted to go with that one, and they've got enough for the 1st down. The Longhorns are moving quickly down the field. From the red zone, looking for a space. Had to throw it before he wanted. He just threw it away. The last thing you want to do is try to force something on 1st down in the red zone. From the shotgun, the inside give. Not a lot there. Picks up 1 inside the 20 to the 19. The crowd getting behind this defense as they try to get a stop in the red zone. The give to the back. And he's not going to get there. The defense stands tall and makes the stop. Now on 4th down, they'll send out the field goal unit. He splits the uprights and puts 3 on the board. And now the lead is even bigger. They're really starting to extend that lead as they get ready to kick it away again. And he takes this from inside the 5. He was looking for some running room, but not much to be found as he stopped at the 18. Texas A&M has it back, and we say howdy to the Aggie offense again. Using the back as a receiver on the screen. And he goes out of bounds after a nice pickup on that one. Now here on 2nd down, see if they keep tossing it around. Dropping back, it's Reed. Here he goes breaking the pocket. At the 40, there he goes. He gets the job done, picking up the 1st down, then getting down. This offense is like running a perfection drill in practice against air, chunk play after chunk play, and here they come again. And it's incomplete. Good play downfield by the DB. Here comes the offense on 2nd down. Misfired on the last play. They'll go back to the air. Quickly complete. They make the stop after the catch and still some work to do to pick up that 1st down. Let's see if the defense comes after them. 3rd and short from the 45. They'll try to get the 1st through the air. Got it set up on the outside. They finally get him stopped, but what a good job by that front wall to set up the screen and create some lanes for their running back. Back to the air one more time. Moving out of the pocket. No fear from this freshman quarterback as he picks up the 1st down himself. And the Aggies come to the line with a fresh set of downs. He's going to pass. catch in the middle. It's Calhoun. And he goes down after making the grab. Picked up a few, but he's still short of the first down marker. Movement on the offensive line. That's going to be a false start, and they'll walk it back.
False start. Offense.
The officials offer the deal, and the coach accepts it. They will take the penalty. From the gun. Give on the inside. Noses his way forward. Maybe gets one. They'll mark it at the 18. Looking for a crease. It's Moss. And Shore tackling there to keep him from getting to the first down marker. Down in the fourth quarter, it's too late for empty possessions. They'll go for it on fourth down. Looking to the end zone. And the incomplete pass turns the ball over on downs. First down for this offense. They'll run it, trying to drain time off the clock. He had all kinds of company as soon as he got it, and he had to fight his way back just to get to the line of scrimmage. Some misdirection with the counter. They'll knock him down after a pickup of 1 to the 18. 3rd and 10, still backed up inside their own 20. This drive hasn't really gotten started. To the air, it's Ewers. And they fail to hook up on 3rd down. And the Longhorns line up to punt it away. They may have to pay him overtime. He's punting for the 5th time today. No return coming. He'll call for the fair catch. Texas A&M has it back on the offense, ready to go to work. They've got it back after that last drive stalled out, and they were stopped on 4th down, David.
Yeah, and they put a little bit of a drive together, but Jesse, they stalled on the other side of the field, and they got to find a way to keep that momentum going as they get closer to the end zone.
I agree. I do like their mindset, though, and I think they need to continue being aggressive moving forward in this game.
Caught over the middle. It's Smith. They get him down after he makes the catch. We reached the 2-minute warning, and we see miracles in college football all of the time, and they could use one here. On 2nd down, looking to throw. Fires to the wideout. And it'll be incomplete. This defense is physical in pass deep. They couldn't make the connection on 2nd down. Now a 3rd and 7 to keep the drive alive. Fires to the middle. Got his man. And they reacted well to the completion, but it was too late to keep them from getting the first down. He's looking to throw it. Unloads to the wideout. Missed his receiver there. It's incomplete. After the misfire, it's 2nd and 10. He's looking to throw. Trying to get to him. And the defense gets home and makes a play at the 37-yard line. Trying to get everybody set with the clock still running. On 3rd and long, doesn't need to take the check down. Catch in the middle, it's Thomas. And he was just a couple of steps away from taking that one even further after the catch. They immediately call timeout, trying to preserve every second they can to try to rally here late. After misfiring, it's 2nd down. Back to pass, it's Reed. Got his man down the middle. The offense gets a quick timeout. At this point, every second is precious. Wants to throw on 3rd down. Fires to the end zone. And good coverage there to knock it away and deny the score. Down by multiple possessions. They can't come up empty on this drive in the 4th quarter. They'll go for it on 4th down. The stop is made, but this offense is threatening. 1st and goal from the 9. Takes a snap, wants to throw. Unleashes to the end zone. And it's caught. Touchdown, Aggie.
And a nice touchdown. Continuing to fight, continuing to play. This one, it's pretty much over. Down multiple possessions this late in the football game. It would take a miracle, but nice job by this offense continuing to fight, push the ball down the field, make plays.
Lining up for the PAT. PAT will draw them 1 point closer. They put it in the end zone with a 12-play scoring drive. They're definitely up against it. Time running out, down 2 possessions. They'll try the onside kick. They were ready for the onside kick and executed perfectly, and they secure the football. So with the late lead, they're ready to just drain the clock in victory formation. Quarterback will take a knee. The defense can stop it one more time, but we are close to being all she wrote. There's a long and storied history of great games between these two rivals, and this chapter adds another to that legacy.
Really impressed by the poise by the winning team as well here. They weren't overhyped in this game. They came out, they looked prepared, they were calm, definitely confident. And David, they were able to go out, execute well enough to get this win.
And it's hard in these rivalry games with all the emotions running so deep. Like, you sometimes get overzealous. Sometimes you get too many penalties. It's hard to rein in your emotions, but they did. They kept it in check, and now bragging rights for a whole year.
That's going to do it for us from here. For Jesse Palmer, David Pollack, I'm Reese Davis, and this has been another presentation of EA Sports College Football.